Welcome to the 63rd episode of the Talking with a Dad podcast this evening. Kind of a thrown together episode. Mondays suck. Mondays are really fucking hard to do these on. There's no good, exciting news going on that's fun and lighthearted, and I stole Steve's entire bit from the beginning of the pre-show.
I was just about to say, man, did it sound that dark when I said it? Like, you gotta be a little bit more optimistic, buddy. You gotta be a little bit more optimistic.
No, I use my voice to portray impending doom.
I mean, is there a better time to do that? I mean, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if the flying monkeys came down, started abducting people, or robots or aliens came. But anything.
Is that a Wizard of Oz reference?
Yes. Fun fact: most of those midgets died after filming that movie.
I agree.
No, it's not something you agree to. It's something that happened. You don't agree to it.
You said it was a fact. I agree to the fact that it was a fact.
Oh, okay. I thought you were agreeing in some type of like
macabre,
evil, some evil dictator sort of way. You're like, I agree.
They all die.
Yes, makes perfect sense. Finally. Whoa. Well, what's going on, big guy? How was your weekend, man?
Oh, oof, man, you know me. Always busy on the weekends. No, it was fine. Got to meet my dad's new dog.
Oh, they got a new dog?
Yeah, they have 2 dogs now.
Oh yeah, what's that dog's name?
Bella.
It's a good name for a girl dog.
Yeah. Well, if it was a girl dog, it'd be a good name.
It's not a girl dog?
No, it is. That's the dog's a year old. Very nice. Completely mannered the exact opposite of the other dog, and that's what they wanted. The other dog is he's not like hyper or anything. Can be a little bit, but he scared and barks at everything. And he's like a 150-pound dog, right? And this dog is a Australian sheepdog, so very similar to actually my puppy. And just not afraid of anything. Doesn't bark very much. Isn't very loud. Like a very nice dog. I'm gonna send you a picture.
Yeah. Oh wait, was that the picture you tweeted out?
Yes.
Oh, cute dog. Yeah, I noticed that. I was like, wow, who is this person? Not person, but
who is this dog? Yeah. I have direct access to 5 dogs now. In case I need to take one somewhere, I have them.
So, listen, I got to talk to you about something. Since it's not on the actual topic list, I wanted to talk to you about, 38-year-old fighters hanging in there, man. I gotta formally apologize to Holly Holm on this show because I think
thought you were talking about Carlos Condit, right? Carlos Condit got a win.
No, he looked good too, man. He looked very good, but
he looked slow obviously and sloppy off the start.
I don't think we were watching the same fight, but you were in a very critical mood. I could tell when I was texting with you.
What do you mean?
I'm like, man, Holly looks good. You're like, dude,
I just said retire. That's what you always say. Every time Holly Holmes fight, like I think she should. I was mocking you because every time Holly Holmes fight, you say you think that she should retire.
Yeah, after getting head kicked, flinching after a 2.5 second flinch from a kick that hadn't even been thrown yet. And then basically wrestling poor Raquel Pennington against the cage, and not even wrestling, just holding her against the cage. Yeah. I thought maybe the apprehension bug had gotten into Holly Holm, and she has struggled with some of that stuff by her own admittance. She said that she has a hard time pulling the trigger sometimes and not overthinking the plan. But man, she came out and didn't overthink anything. She's like, I'm just gonna. Yeah, she's like, I'm gonna beat this chick from round 1 to round 5, and I was just like, man, this is amazing. And then at one point,
it was a good fight,
absolutely good fight. So Holly Holmes, I want to apologize on behalf of Zach for all the horrible things he's ever said about you.
I've never said anything bad about Holly Holmes,
and private and publicly.
Never.
He actually
never either.
Yeah. He actually has a second show that he hosts by himself called To Hell with Holly.
We've actually been trying to get her on for months. She just won't accept. I wonder
why. She won't return any of my phone calls.
Or my letters or my emails. I've been tweeting her. I have a bot set up to tweet at her every hour on the hour.
She won't. She sent back the blood samples. I don't understand that. That was the gesture in love. Oh man, I was playing some Avengers last night, man.
Okay. I thought you beat the game.
I beat the game. Now I'm just cleaning up side missions and stuff like that, and now I'm having a good time. I gotta tell you honestly, like I was like, I'm probably gonna get bored of this pretty soon. And 2 hours later, I'm like, man, I am not bored. Not even in the slightest. I hit a guy with Thor's hammer and sent him flying out of the fortress. And I was like, this is the best game anyone's ever made. I know it's not your thing, but and actually I got a patch update. They released a patch update. So it looks a lot better now on PC. A lot of the stuff I was dealing with before where I was
Okay.
like, man, why do they look like that? Like the hands were looking weird, their faces started looking very weird.
Okay.
It smoothed some of that
just
stuff out.
I just don't think it's a game that has a good end game. You know, you can't get to a point in that game where it's like, okay, well, I'm going to get on, do my 4 hours of Avengers gaming today, right? Like every day. I just don't think it has that. I think it has 40 hours worth of content or whatever. Probably not even that much, truthfully, if you're going to actually play through it. And that's probably about it until DLCs come out, and then it adds 5 or 10 more hours each. And then, okay, well, then I'm done. Okay, I got to wait till the next one comes out, right?
Yeah, because it's missing the one component that I think you would be most familiar with, which is a versus, or I should say a PvP, right?
I'm not worried about that, right? I don't even think that's a good idea for the game. It doesn't seem like it would work well. It seems like certain characters are so underpowered that they wouldn't even be played in a versus or a PvP type situation, right? I'm talking about, like, you know how like Division has raids. Division has like these harder missions you can go into, and you have to work towards it. And it's something, after you're done with the game, there's something else to do. That's called the end game of things, right? And I just don't think this game has that, where it really probably should.
Yeah, I think they're working towards that. It's funny. I was watching someone else streaming it the other day, and he was going through a brutal mission with the Hulk, and he's playing, like, obviously playing with one of the weakest characters in the game, which is ironic since it's the Hulk. And
Hulk's a bitch.
He was,
What?
What did you say?
What happened?
Coughing again. Get that out of my chest. But he was playing with it, and it's funny to watch someone play on brutal with like a obviously broken character who should be way more powerful than he is, and it's great to see that he didn't get as frustrated. But I'm hoping they patch that and they give him a buff, and I can't wait to the Hawkeye release, man. That's going to be amazing, and I can't wait for the whenever they do the Black Panther thing. I know they kind of preemptively released something because of the death of Chadwick Boseman, but I'm really looking forward to that, man. Now, in regards to the stuff you were saying about the end game, you're right. It's totally missing those components. Probably something they should have thought about before releasing the game. Don't know how they're going to work that stuff into it,
if they do, if it's even their plan, right? It might not even be their plan. Yeah. It seems like it kind of is set up to be that way, though, with how the multiplayer works, where it's like you're going to do missions, right? And it seems to be fairly repetitive. I know I can't really speak to it 100% of what Endgame is like there, but it seems like it would work well for, like, you know, one huge big bad that's not released all at the same time, released periodically, and like over the next 3 months or something, you've been working up towards fighting, I don't know, whoever, right? And then it's one huge long event that you go through and then get to that. That feels like it should be it, and it should be replayable, and there should be a number of things about it, but I just don't think it has it. It might not even be in their. It might not even be in their radar of things to do with the game.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they approach it. But forget all that nerd stuff. I knocked someone out of the arena, out of the fortress I was in with Thor. Literally knocked him out. I don't know if it was a glitch. I mean, the guy went flying, and I was just like, did that just happen? Like, I actually flew out of the fortress, and I was like, oh, there he is.
That's pretty funny.
He's dead. Yeah, I'm having a great time with it, man. I'm sure something's gonna happen that's gonna make me angry. I got to get back to Assassin's Creed at some point and just get
Dark
back
Souls.
to get back to the serious business of gaming. Right? I can't live in this fantasy world that I've been living in now. It's time to get serious about the shit, Zach. It's time to play Rocket League full time. Stream it 24 hours a day. Don't talk to my family anymore. I'm just stringing Rocket League.
I see. The thing is, like, Rocket League is not the greatest game to do that with, I don't think. I think the Rocket League viewership is there, but is limited at like 200,000 viewers with an event going on, right? If you were to 24/7 a game, Rocket League is fun to do it with, but it's not the best for viewership.
Oh, I thought you were about the ignoring the family thing. I'm like, so there is an appropriate game to ignore your family and play 24 hours a
Oh,
day.
I
What
just
game is
disregarded
that?
that entirely. Oh, what game is that? Oh man, I could list a few.
Just like, I'm not coming out the room. You know what? It's crazy. I saw an intervention once. I don't know if it's still available on any, but it was like kind of one of their side interventions where this guy had basically he basically screwed over his family to become a Fortnite player. And I'm not talking about a young guy. This was like a man that was in his 50s,
Okay.
built himself a gaming rig, everything. And he's like, his wife is like, one day, he bought the computer and I was fine with that. Then he got a couple of monitors and I was fine with that. But then he stopped sleeping in the bed and he was up all night playing and he stopped going to work. And I'm like, I'm just sitting there. I'm like, Fortnite? I mean, I could see if it was like God of War or something like that, but he gave up his family for Fortnite. When they
Oh,
you know
man.
how they get that weird shot whenever they confront the person. They're like, so you can tell the producer asked him, "Can you explain this to us? Why this happened?" He's like, "I think she's being totally unreasonable." But in the background, the couch he sleeps on, like there are Cheetos and stuff. I thought it was amazing, man. It's sad, but terribly
It's
amazing.
hilarious, actually. See, but you keep saying like God of War, man. God of War is a good single player experience. It's not the game that you could play for 10 hours a day for 3 or 4 months straight. It's just not.
Listen to me. It's not for you, but it is for me. There was a time when I was playing God of War 2. Like this, I'm talking about I've beaten that game so many times and just might as well been like that one guy at the basketball court, like run it back and just go through it again. I don't know what it is about the game.
Man,
I
I could get the game being fun, but again, it's very linear. It's very, the only way you could play is this one is Kratos, right? Like
yeah,
there
only
is no
Kratos.
replayability to it.
Yeah,
You could play it like once a year or something, and that's a good experience. Or you could play it twice or whatever, right? But there isn't like true replayability. There's no difference in the story. There's not a different way to play it. You're not leveling it. You're not leveling your character differently than you did the last time. It's all the same.
I think you're missing out on the fanboy factor, right? It's not in certain instances when
I
you're
guess.
fanboying out on a situation. Now, the latest game, obviously, like there's a bunch of stuff you can do to level up Kratos, right? There's a bunch of like hidden gems. There's a bunch of side quests. Like there's an Infinity Gauntlet quest in the actual game where you can assemble their version of the Infinity Gauntlet. There are a bunch of gifts that you can get. Like there's a one quest you can go on to get this kind of this squirrel from Norsean mythology.
Yeah. You have told me
Yeah,
about
yeah,
this.
yeah, there's stuff like that, and there's a bunch of Easter eggs and like useful stuff. Nothing that's kind of like, oh, well, this was a waste of time. Like it all builds the character up.
Right, but it's Kratos at the end of the day.
Oh yeah, it's Kratos.
Right,
You don't need anything else in Kratos, man.
you're not playing a game where your build is different.
Yeah, no, but
It's and there's no there's no
it's a
content to work
bald
for.
Greek man. It's a bald Greek man that's wearing lambskin. There's nothing else to work for in this life, Zach. All right.
I see. Listen, I can get the love for the game. I just don't get the constant replayability. It doesn't make any sense.
You want to go even deeper than that. If you ever think about the insanity of playing Street Fighter, the only thing that makes Street Fighter replayable, because once you beat it, that's it, right? You can't level up your character. You can become better at using a character. You can become
Right.
better.
But the thing about Street Fighter is playing against other people.
No, I know people who don't even play online. They just play they just play the computer all the time just to get better at combos. I know people who stay in the actual training room have nothing to do with online combat. Their main goal is to pull off combos that no one else can pull off.
Yeah, but those people are fucking weird, man. There's no like there's no you're not working for anything there, right? When people are playing Fortnite for 10 hours a day, and as much as I don't like Fortnite, it's because they're getting better at the game and they're winning games, right? And each game that they play is different. Same thing with Call of Duty, right? You're getting better. Each game is different than the last, even if you play it very similar, right? That person moved left instead of right, the last guy did, right? But with these, like, especially the Street Fighter, when you're sitting in a training room, you're a fucking absolute psychopath. Or even replaying God of War, where it's a linear story instead of something like the 2 new Assassin's Creeds or some of the Elder Scrolls games or The Witcher even, right? It's not as linear as it is like you could do different builds, you could do different things in the world. Like, I don't understand. I love single player games. I truly love like single player RPGs. but I have to build. If I want to replay it after the first time, I have to be able to build my character different than I did the first.
No, see, I think that's where the miscommunication is. In the latest God of War, you can rebuild Kratos different. You can his gear set changes everything. You can quest for different axes. You can quest for different chaos blades. You can quest.
Right,
to
but
give
you're
him,
still Kratos doing the same exact moves the entire time, right? I can't make
No.
Kratos shoot magic.
Yeah, you can.
Really? Is this last one different than all the others?
Yeah.
Then?
Yeah, so basically, like the more you shape and mold the axe differently, it gives you different powers. But it's the same thing with The Witcher. Like it's always going to be that silver-haired fox. He's a good-looking bastard, though. He doesn't change innately himself. The magic is linear in itself, right? Like,
but you could use different weaponry, right? You could do different weapon styles. Like it's the same thing with like my big comparison is Skyrim, right? It's also an RPG, but I could use two-handed weapon, one-handed weapon, dual-wield one-handed weapons, one-handed with a shield, a bow, like a magic staff, or just magic in my hands, or I can just go around punching people, right? There's different ways to build your character. I could be a necromancer and summon things to fight for me. Like, there's so many different ways of playing that one single linear experience that it makes it non-linear.
Speaking of necromancers, I heard you guys all died in your RPG.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah, I don't know exactly what the plan was. Obviously, I'm not the DM,
right?
But my character committed suicide at the end.
I heard
because it was actually kind of frustrating the way that it ended. What we were doing is we were fighting a monster that we didn't no idea what it was. We had very little information, and apparently it would just infect people, and then those people became part of the monster. It was like a hive mind essentially.
Right.
And it came down to, out of the 5 or 6 people in the party, there was only 2 of us that weren't infected. So I just killed myself.
How'd you kill yourself?
I casted I can pull up my character sheet. I casted a spell that basically makes like a little dome on top of you, but it's only supposed to fit medium or smaller items in it. And obviously I'm a human sized like dwarf, and I used it and crushed myself with it.
Would you say you're a human-sized dwarf?
Yeah, I played a hill dwarf, but yeah, Lehman's tiny hut. It's a 10-foot immobile dome, and you could fit medium or smaller size. But obviously, if you're a playable character, you're bigger than that, unless you're a goblin. But I just used it to crush myself and kill myself. I originally had hit myself in the face with my warhammer until I died. But then someone revived me as a joke. And then I'm like, I'm going to cast Lehman's tiny hut and crush myself into oblivion. Fuck you guys.
Not happy with the game, the way it turned out. Are you guys going to start back up?
No, apparently we're not. No, I wasn't not happy with it. I had no idea that was the way that it was going to end. I thought it was going to be completely different. So I was more shocked than anything. But these guys all play, right? These guys all play multiple games a week. So I get to play, and it's a 2.5 session play session, and I had spent more than a week on my character, 2 characters for this session, by the way. And to just die by default was kind of frustrating, but that's about it. For the guys that I'm playing with, it's their second or third game. Right, so they're making throwaway characters, doing different builds, doing like trying different shit, and I'm like, okay, well, this is the only time that I get to play, and you guys are just gonna fucking all right, whatever. I was like, and then our DM is not DMing anymore, so.
That's one of the things I really love about you, Zach, man. There is no halfway in anything that you do, right? Like you're all the way in. Like someone says to you, hey man, we're just gonna meet up, have a nice casual sit down conversation about potato chips. You're like, all right, cool, sounds casual, great. Next thing I know, you're texting me like, so here's my chart for the chips, right? Broken it down into sections. I got mediocre chips to weirdo chips, all the way to the crescendo of chips up here. But in there, I got sub chips, right? Sub chips and honorable mention. So if we go to the chipper, we go to the chipper.
Utz, salt and vinegar are the best chips, and that is just a fact. We both like salt and vinegar chips.
Yes.
Right, and Utz has the best of those. Right, salt and vinegar is my favorite. Utz has the best salt and vinegar.
What's that one place? Kettle.
Yeah, those are okay, but those go into the weirdo subcategory for me.
So here's the problem about that. They're okay at the top. you get to the middle, they start getting really too salty, and then by the bottom of it, I know they're supposed to be all natural, but they don't taste natural. So I'm just gonna leave.
I also consider
like
kettle chips a different kind of chip. We're talking about regular potato chips.
regular
Like
potato chip.
standard, like Lay's is like the gold standard for them.
What is the name of those guys that are professional wine drinkers? Like they're the ones who can tell you the body.
Sommeliers.
Oh, okay, so I was watching Zac Efron's new show on Netflix, which, by the way, is effing amazing. Some of the most interesting stuff I've ever seen. Whenever I hear people say from this point on that America is the greatest country ever, I'm gonna say, have you been to Iceland?
Man, I wish. Apparently, I think Iceland's great. But hold on, where did we get to this from? we were going down a path.
Let me. So, what's the guy's name that tastes the wine and he makes you spit it out again?
A sommelier.
Yeah. So they met with a water Somalian, and this guy was teaching them about different waters from around the world.
It's different though. I don't think he could be a water sommelier. There's probably a different word for it. I think sommelier is just wine.
No, but that is 100% the word he used to describe himself. Now that could be 100% incorrect, but here's what I didn't know about water and what I didn't know about water in France.
I'm so fucking wrong.
Here's what I didn't know about waters from all over the place. So we as Americans, I'll use an I statement here. You know, you see water and you see purified water and then you see Poland Spring. And of the two, I would assume that purified water is the better water for you.
I drink Poland Spring.
Apparently, yes, water with actual natural minerals is the water you should be drinking. You should not be drinking purified water. But the water Somalian, at the place the restaurant he owns in Westwood, he had them drinking waters from all over the place, and some of them were to the point of damn near being carbonated because they had so much minerals in them.
It's a
and then I did, yeah, that guy,
Martin Reese. I'm looking at him. Poland Springs, in my opinion, and I've had water across the country, obviously, right? I think Poland Springs is my favorite. But that's what I grew up with. That's what if I go buy a case of water at the grocery store, I walk past everything else to get the Poland Spring.
Yeah, I don't blame you. So check this out. Did you know that France deprivatized water? You cannot sell as a private organization in France bottled water. It is free. It is a fundamental right, according to the French, that every person should, at the very least, be able to get drinking water. And so they've built this amazing plant to purify their water. So I turned that off for a second. I'm like, well, it's time to tune back into the greatest country in the world, see what's going on. I put on CNN, and the first thing I see is someone basically saying the exact opposite in the American zeitgeist, which is, you got to work for everything. There's no free stuff in America. And I'm like, America. You fat bitch.
I don't know, man.
I want to be a water Somalian.
Sommelier. A Somalian is a I can't. I'm not going down this. I hate when people pronounce things wrong. It bothers me.
If I could just become the water Samoan of New York, then it would be like the best job ever, man. Like, and
I agree.
Like one point, like he's going through, and his presentation was amazing. But literally, someone said, he asked, he's like, so I just want to know what your takeaways from this. Do you believe that water has taste? And they're like, yes. He's like, do you believe that water is, vast and has great properties? And they're like, yes. But then one person just literally said to him, like, do I believe that you have a made up job or a real job? I still don't know.
That's brutal. That's pretty brutal. Obviously, he's an expert, right? You can be an expert in fucking anything. And water is no different because water does have taste, for sure.
Yeah, it has bad taste, has copper taste, has urine taste. And if you go to Jersey, it has radioactive taste.
Yeah, and it smells like a diaper.
Yeah, and everyone's drinking it. And I'm like, I'm the weirdo, I guess.
Like, I don't want anything to do with you fucking people. Jersey. Where did we start? Where did we start that conversation? I felt like we were going somewhere, and then we hit up water sommelier.
You know what? I had no intended destination. I was just along for the ride, man. We started. I don't know. I can't backtrack at this point. I'm like a dolphin, man. You gotta let me fly on these things. You just gotta let me spread my dolphin wing.
You're right. All right, you lead the show then tonight, Mr. Winged Dolphin.
Winged dolphin. So, man, we're really light. There's very little stuff going on that we are interested in reporting in, but it's our duty to make sure we bring you folks the news. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start
news, which is a good show. I don't give a fuck about the news.
No, not
We
that.
can talk about aliens, dude. I don't give a shit.
Zach, we can't talk about aliens anymore. Remember what happened last time? All
Yeah,
right.
we did a bit and brought colanders out. That shit was hilarious.
That show was hilarious. YouTube didn't think it was funny.
Well, fuck those people.
So speaking of F those people, right? And this is, I'm gonna admit I'm trolling a little bit here at the expense of AMD because I know what triggers my good friend Zach, and I know almost literally what he's going to say about this. But Big Navi is getting a showcase on Thursday. Who cares, Zach? Is there anyone that cares? Do you care? What do you expect, and what do you think as a tech expert?
Everyone does care, right? People do care. People care a lot, actually. People are huge fans of AMD. Here's my issue, right? From the leaks that I've seen, it's going to compete with a 3070, maybe slightly above, but for the price of a 3080. And if that happens, AMD shot themselves in the foot 1,000 times over. AMD in the graphics card space, and I've said this probably about 1,000,000 times, they are the price to performance, or even just the lower price option. When you're on a heavy budget, I recommend an RX 570, right? I don't recommend a 1060 or a 1060 Ti, right? I recommend something that's even cheaper. And that's where AMD either A, needs to dominate the space, because it's fine with dominating that space because you still have a space to dominate, or they need to be priced the same or less than their competitors and be as good or better, right? And that's what it's going to take to get people away from NVIDIA at this point. There is no reason to buy an AMD graphics card unless you're super budgeted heavy.
It's interesting because they do have like a I don't want to disrespect anyone by referring to it as a cult following. I'll say a strong base. There's a strong base of AMD.
It's a cult following. There's nothing wrong with that.
It's a strong cult following of AMD aficionados and appreciators, and they will literally tell you that there's nothing discernible in their eyes and measurement wise why they should be compelled to buy NVIDIA or go Team Green. Now, I haven't found anything that I've
never met these people. I've never met these people because
you've met one of them.
But you could present facts as to why it's just not true, right?
Right.
CPUs, I could see it. Right, CPUs, I can absolutely make the argument as to why one is better than the other in whatever use case you give me, right? But graphics cards, NVIDIA, are just better, and it's just the truth. It is just factually the truth, and there is no reason to even look at an AMD graphics card unless you spent your budget on a CPU.
Right. Yeah, there is no discernible data that I can see or anyone's ever presented, even with just an AMD combo where you're running benchmarks and somehow these two things work better with each other. In actuality, I just think it's brand recognition for most people when it comes down to that type of stuff, or brand preference, and to each his own. But they're gonna do this showcase, and I'm not gonna tune in on to this one because I'm gonna be working.
What day is it?
It's on Thursday.
I'll watch it.
Yeah, we'll see what they do. The best thing about buying an AMD card or processor right now is you get a Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
You probably do with NVIDIA as well. They usually give away free games with their graphics cards.
Yeah, I didn't see Valhalla, but that doesn't make it not true. In fact, I'm not even sure I'm going to play that game. I still got to deal with Assassin's Creed Origins.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta. Yeah, you have some games to catch up on. Right. Yeah, you have a few games to catch up on. And
here's the interesting thing. Back to Big Navi, right?
You get Watch Dogs with a 3080 right now. Watch Dogs.
Yeah. So back to this, right? So I've just been kind of scouring the internets and looking at everything, seeing what the excitement level is from reviewers and the casual consumer, and not a lot of buzz. Either way it goes, though. Unfortunately, there is not a lot of buzz. It started off with a little bit of mystique, a little mystery. People didn't know what to expect. And then that's kind of died down now. We'll see if there's a resurgence on it Thursday. But I don't even know what this presentation is going to look like. Like, at this point, they're going to probably run into the same supply chain problems as NVIDIA. So that's another thing they're going to have stacked against them.
Big potential for sure.
And the release hopefully won't be as... I can't think of a better word than... Yeah, like, it hopefully won't look like a lizard woman that just got her 6 plastic surgery coming out of West Hollywood. Like, it won't be that bad, but I just can't see it not being that way, dude. I have no idea how this whole thing is gonna roll out.
Well, we'll see, right? AMD usually does very, very good presentations. The issue with AMD is they tend to lie in their presentations quite a bit. I remember when the first Navi cards came out, they did all this data about how the cheapest Navi card was better than the most expensive NVIDIA card, and it turns out they had tested it against 2 generations ago or something to make their narrative correct. And I'm interested to see where they come from for this. I just don't think it's going to be very good. To be fair, I just don't think the graphic card itself is going to be very good, and I think they're going to price it too high, and they're going to price themselves out of the market.
I hope so, because you know what? This is one of those things where I definitely agree with you on this one. Maybe just focus on what's working for the company right now, right? Let's keep rolling out those great CPUs. Let's keep building on that brand, because if you think about where they've come from to where they are now, it's amazing. It's an amazing turnaround to actually make yourself a competitor in a space where there was only one legitimate provider at one point. Also, I would like to see a battle of the leather jackets between the CEO of AMD and the CEO of NVIDIA. Like, that's just got to happen. Like, and then you got to throw Elon in there. Just see who is the richest person to wear a leather jacket and look like a complete tool.
It would be Elon, because Elon's significantly more wealthy than either CEO. I don't know why that was. Steve, I love a lot of your narratives and your dialogues and your monologues, but that was a bad one. You're like, who's the richest? I'm like, no, Elon by a magnitude of 15.
Is he?
He's a billionaire.
But does he look like the biggest tool of all of them?
But you said the richest. You said the richest tool in a leather jacket.
All right, so let's forget the richest part. Who is the
he
CEO?
He would also look like the biggest tool.
Come on, man.
Bezos would be up there. Fucking Tim Cook seems like a nice guy, I guess.
But does that stop him from looking like an ass in a jacket that no one wears outside of like a bad B movie? Like, someone's got to put their foot down on this stuff, right? No one's wearing those leather jackets casually. Unless you can really throw down, you should not be wearing a leather jacket and a flannel anywhere, right? Unless you're
you're riding a bike, right? If you're riding a bike, it's different. If you're riding a motorcycle, it's different. Leather is protective.
Yeah, but make it functional. Don't make it designer leather, right? Because that's not protecting you from shit.
Correct.
If that's not, you take a fall in that $3,000 jacket, guess what's gonna happen? You're bleeding out in front of everyone, man. Speaking of Elon, man, he's been kind of quiet on the internet. So I haven't seen him scurrying around. I haven't seen him scurrying around. Usually he pops up in my Twitter a few times, not in my feed. That would be great if he was in there. But like, I haven't seen him. No controversies, nothing like that. So that means he's doing good.
No, I think what the issue is right now is, man, his biggest controversy is whether or not that Cybertruck is going to be released the way that they had said it is, right? With the bulletproof glass that he broke with a ball bearing, or the door thing, whatever, right? Tesla has a serious issue with quality assurance and quality control. Huge issues, right? There was just a news article about a Model Y drove off the lot and the roof fell off of it, right? There was that just came out. I don't think they're going to be able to get the Cybertruck US certified with the way that it is, because it has a flat front bumper. If you look at bumpers, it has to pass pedestrian vehicle laws. No car has a flat front bumper of any sort anymore. I don't think it's going to pass that, and it's going to have to be re-released as a Cybertruck 2.0. Other than the fact that how horrible of a business practice pre-ordering vehicles is, right? He comes from the tech space, which makes sense. Pre-order happen in tech all the time. Whereas cars, you don't pre-order, right? You pay in full and then get shipped within the next X amount of months. And people pre-ordered Cybertrucks years ago. It feels like 2 years ago, maybe. And you're not going to get a return on that for another, I don't know how long, right? Another year or two potentially before that Cybertruck comes out. Essentially what people did was give Elon a non-interest $1,000 loan in the tens of thousands, right? And people millions of dollars of loan essentially for Tesla without any return and no real guarantee of ever getting a Cybertruck.
In the hood, we call that a "I got you back" loan, where it's like, "Hey, man, listen, I got this thing going on. Just loan me a couple of bucks. But I'll get you back."
Yeah. That's fine. I could see that.
Yeah.
If you weren't guaranteeing something on the other side, like, "Hey, man, you give me this $1,000, I guarantee you to a car on the other side, right? Because that is exactly what they're doing, and
Yeah.
it's a really, really shitty business practice, and no one called them out on it.
Yeah. The thing about Elon is, though, I don't think he's above having people killed, like people who troll him on the internet. Like, I was suspected a few people who probably DM'd him some bad things have probably come up missing. Uh, what I do miss most about Elon Musk is his optimism. There's nothing you can do to shake his spirit. Board threatens to vote him out. He's like, I'm not retracting anything. In fact, I'm going to smoke more weed the next time I go on Joe Rogan and talk about more unicorns and release more oddly shaped cars. Also, an interesting thing about that Cybertruck. So I know it may not get certified to be released in the States, and that's in danger. But someone was talking about the fact that it's all ready, allegedly, driving around that area. So you know how they've been
Yeah,
beta
it is.
tested.
It's the Silicon Valley area. It
Yeah,
is, right? It is, but
yeah.
that doesn't mean it's
No, it doesn't mean
legal
it's
to
legal.
sell.
Yeah.
I
I want one.
They're nice. They're nice, right? They look cool. They're gimmicky. The issue with electric is you can't tow as far as you can on a gas truck, and there's less available charging locations than there are gas stations. Listen, I like electric cars a lot. I think they're really neat. I think they're incredibly fast, and they're really, really well produced. And well, other than Teslas, they're really well produced. And yeah, I think they're going to be a huge market very, very soon.
Yeah.
But I don't think Tesla is the company to bring it there. I think it's going to take a Ford or a GM to bring it there.
I wouldn't disagree with that statement. I would not disagree with that. I think they probably have a little bit more of a guided hand in these type of release.
Well, hold on.
And also,
you remember Ford and GM are car companies, right? They have distribution, they have manufacturing plants, where Tesla is a tech company that's building cars, right? Realistically, the cars that Tesla are selling are just profitable, not even profitable, very unprofitable proofs of concept for their technology, right? Realistically, Tesla's big play is to never sell another car again and license that shit to everybody, their technology to every single person, right? And then it's Ford powered by Tesla. It's GM powered by Tesla. It's Mercedes powered by Tesla. And, the German cars will never do that, right? Porsche already has technology for the Taycan of an electric car that's very successful, which will then trickle down into a Panamera. It'll trickle down into a 911 of some sort and go on into the other Porsche brands. So
I remember Elon Musk at the onset of this entire thing. I was in California, and he did a pretty famous interview at this point, and it was probably the most optimistic, altruistic thing I've seen in quite some time. And someone asked him why he had released he doesn't have a patent on any of the technology behind the Teslas. Yeah, and he's just said, well, famously said, if I'm in a sinking ship and I have a better bucket than you, why wouldn't I just share my bucket or teach you how to make a bucket like mine? Which obviously that doesn't make sense because we wouldn't have time to make anything if the boat's sinking. But I get what he's saying, and yeah, I had a great deal of respect for him then as an innovator in that regard. But like anything else, the shine starts to wear off. You start to see that your heroes do have flaws and cracks. I do think that he still has some great ideas regarding some issues. He's kind of going through a weird red pill Kanye moment, and I hope people kind of leave him alone to get his medication balanced. And I don't mean that to be a dick at all. I think sometimes that people go through these life-changing events and then we want to put a camera in their face and get their opinions on things, when we should ultimately just kind of let them work through the situation they're going through at the time. But that don't mean shit to AMD, man. This card better deliver for someone who's ordering it or who's pre-ordering it.
No one's pre-ordering it.
Because they do. Here's the thing. To us, this is not something we're going to do, but there are diehards for this company, man. And I just feel a little bit, my soul's still a little, it hurts a little for people who love things this much to ultimately get let down. So we'll see how it turns out. And I'm hoping you don't have the same experience with Cold War. But shout out to Andrew Kleeman, one of the most dedicated fans that we have here at Talking with a Daddy, texting me. Sorry to get back to you, buddy. When you get the beta, I will pre-order the game, and I will 100% play zombies with you, bro.
I want to play zombies too. If whoever wants to play zombies, I'll play zombies. Unfortunately, the zombies doesn't look like traditional Call of Duty zombies for this game. If you watch the trailer, the zombies looks more like World War Z than it does traditional Black Ops Black Ops zombies. So
wow.
That is actually very much so not exciting.
Okay. I'm hoping that like I'll have a better experience with it because I have no experience with zombies. I know we were supposed to go back and play the
Zombies
original.
is incredible. It's
Yeah,
it's only a good time. It's frustrating if you keep dying or something, but there
right.
is no point in zombies where I'm like, fuck this, I want to go play something else.
It's just that much fun. Pulls you right in.
I've had hundreds of hours of fun playing zombies. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Wait, explain to me how it works again. What's the layout?
Based.
Okay.
The maps are different. It's wave based, right? So first wave is 5 zombies. Wave 2 is 7. It goes up, right? It goes exponentially up. It's not 5 and 7. It's more than that. But you start out with pistols, and then you work on from there.
Actually, that sounds a lot of fun because I had a great time playing Horde mode and Gears of War 5.
Yeah, I mean it's essentially horde mode.
See, and you know what's great about playing that type of stuff with your buddies? You can't get mad at each other, right? It's just like fight to survive. We're just trying to survive.
You definitely couldn't because there's been plenty of times where me and Shane are playing together and I take because like essentially what it gets to is you get to a point in the lobbies where you're not fighting next to each other. You're running around in a circle, right? And you're clumping the zombies together and then you're mowing them down. And then you're running around in a circle and you're clumping the zombies together and you're mowing them down. Well, I would run around in a circle, or Shane would, because it's going both ways. We would run around in a circle, get the zombies all clumped up, and then slowly lead them towards the other person. And then either you merge the hordes or one of the people dies and the other one gets away.
So that's what I'm talking about, man. That's like good.
That's
fun.
Good
Clean American fun right there. I do kind of miss playing World War Z only because it was like in the beginning. I'm not talking about when we tried to replay the game. In the beginning. Calm down.
It was a lot of fun. World War Z was a lot of fun.
Like, remember creeping down those stairs and it's like trying to get the plan together, and we finally figured out we were going to let you do all the headshots and we'll clean up all the sloppy seconds. And then we got to that next part and it's like, wow, how are we going to get through this? And I like that type of stuff, man. Actually, I had a lot of fun playing Gears with Joe Reynolds because he didn't have a mic. So we just kind of had to do like video game sign language where I'm just pointing my gun like they're coming from that way. We got to go that way. Just follow me. Like, I had a great time with it. I'm getting more and more excited about Cold War. And let me tell you how that works, right, Zach? It's the marketing, right? You know, I'm a guy that's a sucker for marketing.
Very good marketing.
Very good. I forgot to pay my YouTube bill. So commercials came back for a brief second and I started throwing up on myself. And but a Cold War commercial came up and I sat down and it was one of those ones that was edited of all the commercials into one. And I was just like, oh, this is amazing. I'm horrible at this game, but this commercial makes me feel like I could be better at this game. This time could be different. This time with this $60, I won't be as bad.
There's more to this game though, right? With the last game, it was multiplayer. Apparently, the story is very good. I never played the story, and it's not worth the 260 gig download to play the story at this point. And Warzone, right? Where this is going to have the extension of Warzone. It's going to have the multiplayer. It's going to have the single player, and it's going to have zombies. And zombies is always fun. Now, zombies got a little off the rails. Black Ops 3, Black Ops 4, where it got a little too crazy, right? But man, is it still fun? It's still fun. Like, you don't even have to be good at it. You can just go 10 rounds and die, and it's still a good time.
You know what's funny? We were talking about this other day. I'm not diverting, but you just bring up how big Warzone has got, how big Modern Warfare has gotten, and thinking about the next gen console. I really do like the fact that Sony's rolling out this new part component for the game, where it's like, hey, you don't have to install every aspect of the game. If you're just going to be playing the PvP, just download. Well, you can just download that portion and play it. If you're just going to be playing the campaign, you can just download the campaign. If you're just going to be playing zombies, you can just download that part. Because I was wondering how it was going to work out with their storage capacity. And as of yet, no one's speaking on the upgradability. We'll get back to that later. But I think that's going to be pretty cool. This game is going to be fun.
Yeah, I agree. I 100% agree.
I think I thought it was great that Shane walked up to me at the school today and he's like, he's going to take vacation. It reminded me of old school, like when I first met you guys. When you were
is he taking vacation for when COD comes out?
That's what he said.
Well, he didn't tell me. I'll have to schedule my vacation.
My chest exploded. Here's something I did want to run by you, right? So I think it would be great, and what I have not brought this up to Zach, so I'm not going to lie and say, hey, we're going to do an episode, and I talked to him about it. I think we should do an episode 5 ways to have a good time and what to expect, hosted by Zach in regards to Call of Duty. So in my mind,
We'll let the
I
beta
envision.
happen first, and then I could probably outline it.
Hold on, let me make a picture in my mind. I envision.
All right, you
sitting
pitch. We're doing Shark Tank. You pitch.
in my mind, I see you sitting there with the Hawaiian shirt on, right?
Okay.
Clipboard. You got to pretend that you're a guidance counselor, but not any guidance
Can I
counselor.
use
Not
my
someone.
legal pad instead?
Yes, you can use your legal pad, but you're not a successful guidance counselor. That's the look we're going for. You're a I can't let one more die on my shift guidance counselor kind of look. That's what we're going for, right? And you're going to come in front of the camera and you're going to give everyone your experience on Call of Duty and how to know if the game's going to suck within the first day or to know if the game is going to be good. And then you're going to teach noobs how to become passives, and passives how to become submissives, and submissives how to become aggressors. Those are the stages of COD as I've recognized.
Man, you're putting a lot on my plate. It's very easy for you to, and listen, I'm out already. It's very easy for you to come and say, hey, I need you to do this 5 hours worth of work for a video for my entertainment, and offer no benefit or no companionship in this whatsoever.
No, you didn't let me finish the rest of the pitch, right? So COVID is still going on. So obviously, if it wasn't, I would be sitting there in the background, right? And we'd be doing face-to-face interviews with people. And when they ask who that guy is in the background, you're just like, don't worry about that guy. Just worry about me. You keep your eyes on me.
I'm out.
But I think
I'm out. This is what I heard you say, right?
Right.
I feel like Zach should come in with having done 4 hours worth of paperwork and writing for this next video that I want to do. Oh, and then tack on how to tell people how to play and point out and coach people, which seems like another 40 hours worth of work for a 45-minute video that's going to get 13 views.
Wait. You haven't even gotten into the type of people I'm going to be bringing to you yet, right? Yeah, I'm going to be scraping the barrel of IG, looking for the biggest posers, the biggest wannabes, and the biggest tryhards for you to coach them up and make them successful players.
This doesn't sound like fun. This sounds like a lot of fucking work for essentially zero payoff. This doesn't sound fun at all. This actually, I'm frustrated thinking about this and how much work. Oh, and then on top of that, I would have to do all of the recording, set up all of the audio, do all of the lighting, and if we were doing it in person, right, hypothetically, and then I have to do all of the post-production.
You could stay in my basement and we can film it in my basement.
I didn't even talk about getting a set together. I didn't even mention that. I mentioned everything else involved once the set is already finished. I was hoping that you would provide the set.
I will provide.
But I don't want it to be done in your basement. I want it to be done in a full set. I need like a 60-minute style set.
You can live in my basement while you're working.
I don't want to do that. I don't want to. No. I don't want to.
I'll bring you food.
No, I don't want your food.
Okay.
I make better food.
Here's the payoff. You can kill all the people after it's over.
That doesn't sound. No, that sounds even worse because then I have to deal with prison after.
Prison's not that bad, man. The boiled eggs, cookies.
I don't like eggs. Oh my god, you're just falling deeper into garbage here. I'm getting angry.
It's gonna be pretty cool, man. Like I got a couple of guys that I'm gonna play with. Obviously, present company included. That I'm just gonna like run through, and I'm getting excited for this. And it's good to get excited for something, man. I was excited for Avengers, not let down. Getting excited for this, not let down. It's good to see people. I actually talked to a few folks who had not played Call of Duty in quite some time, who are coming back specifically for this game. Interestingly enough, man.
You know what? You absolutely could. This would be a good game to come back on. From what I've played during the PlayStation Alpha, I don't have much to say other than that. We got some weekends coming up for beta access.
Right.
This weekend, 8 through 12. PS4 early access is October 8th and 9th, and then the PS4 open beta is the 10th, 11th, and 12th. Which is, hey, that's pretty exciting. And then weekend 2 is the following weekend. We get the crossplay beta where PS4 has open access the entire time. Xbox and PC have early access for 15 and 16. And then we have open access on all platforms October 17th through 19th. So very, very excited for this. I'll be there from the 15th on, getting some games in and, giving reviews and apparently fucking teaching people how to play the game. But I don't want to do that off the beta. I'll give some information. I'll talk about the game a lot, I'm sure, when the weekends are up. So
big hope for the game. I know we've gone through this before, but as we close, and I'm going to ask this question over and over again. It's called, do some open-ended questions here.
Okay.
Big hope for the game. Well, next week we'll do big worry, but today we're doing big hope. What is your big hope? First thing that comes to your mind. What are you hoping for most out of this game?
That it returns to a traditional Call of Duty. That's my big hope, is boots on the ground, which we know we're getting, solid, quick gameplay with outplay ability, right? And I'll say that where in Modern Warfare, if you start getting shot, there is no chance for you to get out of the line of sight, heal up, and then get back into the fight and now have knowledge of where that guy is, right? There is no opportunity for that. You die so fast. Hopefully we'll have that a little bit in Cold War, and just a higher skill ceiling.
We're gonna hold them to it. So now I got to transition into something that I just find find a bit strange, and I'm going straight down the list here. So Sony finally sent out samples to select reviewers and to some select developers to kind of go back through the process, right? None of the reviewers have released their findings publicly yet. None of the reviewers have been allowed to even show the user interface for it yet.
There's an embargo on it.
So here's the thing that really trips me out about this. The release date is fast approaching. We know even less than we did before, but there is one thing that did come out of this whole thing. Apparently, one reviewer was able to leak some information regarding the PlayStation 5 and completely dispel the rumors that it overheats. Thing runs cool as a cucumber from the early reports.
I didn't think it was going to run hot. You said that time and time again, and I never thought it was going to run hot.
I've said what's been reported or the speculation. It's not something that I've actually bought into, but it's been a genuine concern based on the design from a few people. One guy went as far as to do a mock engineer explanation as to why it would potentially run hot. Apparently, things running extremely cool. Also, it is a big boy and requires a stand for vertical or horizontal.
It's
apparently,
huge.
But
it's huge.
Not so big where it looks gaudy. I've seen some stills of it on some people, like they build a mock home entertainment system and they have it comparatively next to a PlayStation 4 that's standing up vertically. Actually doesn't look that bad against the wood.
It's 40% bigger or something though.
Yeah. The only thing that looks really crazy about it is the part that looks like a baseball brim sticking out the side of it. That is something that if you are not into a very modern, postmodern kind of design in your house, it's going to stand out. So if your grandmother gave you a nice wood entertainment system and it's just kind of understated, this is not the system for you, because it's literally going to look like, I have no idea, standing there. But otherwise than that, we got nothing else to work with. We got nothing. There's nothing else to work with. Apparently, people in Japan are going crazy about the old. Me and Zach were talking about this before. It took him a second to kind of catch on to why people were frustrated. Traditionally, the X button for all you PS5, PlayStation users I
haven't heard about this.
Yeah, it's who reported on Rich Tech reported on it, and I watched the video, and then I went to go look up the article, and then they switched. This is allegedly, according to this report, they switched the X with the O, not physically, but just an operation. I think it's something I would get used to fairly quickly. Is this something that would like piss you off? I know you're not a big console guy, but you spent a lot of time playing PlayStation on the PlayStation 3. Is this something that would throw you off and make you really upset?
I'm not gonna play it. It doesn't matter to me. I'm looking at some like Reddit posts from 2015, where the PlayStation 4 allowed you to switch X and O. Like this is an update from over a year ago where it allows you to switch. And apparently Japan O has always been confirmed. But yeah, in the PlayStation system currently, you can switch that. So it literally is this topic, and I'm sorry to ruin it so quickly for you. It's already obsolete. 2016, they had the same thing. They had switched this in 2016 in the Asia region, and I'm looking at like 5 different articles that all say the same thing. So I don't think it matters. I think they have this solution already, and we kind of only got half the story going into this.
Yeah, no, I read the full article. I don't understand why people were being very upset about it. I don't understand why this was a big deal. I just thought it was a weird, what is this guy's name? Review Tech USA. I love this guy's channel. I don't understand why it was an issue because it's not like it's a muscle memory thing where you can't readjust to it, right? It's not something
Yeah,
that you
but
can't.
you've been using PlayStation for how long? How long would it take for you to realize that X is canceled now and O is confirmed? It would be a
It wouldn't
long
take.
time. It would be a long time. You don't realize it because you're not doing it, right? It would take you 4 months to finally get that figured out and do it 100% without having to look at the controller or doing it wrong the first time. And then if you became tired and you weren't thinking about it, you would still fuck it up, right? So it is super frustrating. I totally understand that. But
I
this
literally,
was fixed. This was fixed months ago, years ago. And
I
it
don't
was
think it would
Asia only. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. I usually do that, but I didn't mean to that time.
Oh wait, where is it? I was trying to see if I can find the actual article again.
Yeah,
It's like
PS4 6.5 update from 2018 allows you to switch the X and O.
this report came from Hitaku. Have you heard of this? They do a lot of reporting on consoles in Japan.
No.
Yeah, this came from their review. Richmond Review Tech was talking about it, but apparently this is something people are reacting. Oh, I'm sorry, Kotaku.
I know
And
who Kotaku is. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, Kotaku is a very, very huge. Yeah.
so
No, this has been
Sony is.
ongoing for 4 years, man.
So here it is right here. This is regarding exclusively the PlayStation 5. Sony is changing the confirm and cancel buttons in Japan, and folks aren't happy. Yeah. In the West, the X button has long been the PlayStation's button to confirm selections, actions, and more. But ever since the original PlayStation went on sale in Japan in 1994, the circle button has been the action button. That's going to change. I cannot pronounce this person's name, so I don't want to butcher it. Our Futatsumu and AV Watch are reporting in Japan the PlayStation 5's dual sense controller will change its action button from X to bring the region into global uniformity. Okay, so they're switching it to make them match everyone else with the international.
But in the PS4, there is a setting that lets you swap it. So I'm assuming people are just going to toggle it on and off as they please.
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't seem like it. That's what I'm saying. This doesn't seem like something that would like bug me out too much. I wonder why people are having such a strong reaction to it if the solution is that quick.
It's a 20-year change, right? If something has been okay, so you go out of your house tomorrow and you have to drive on the left side of the road, right?
Wait, hold on for a second. Let me stop you right there. So you just said that the solution is fairly simple, right? You can remap the buttons on the PlayStation, correct? So
but you're trying to figure out why before you knew that this was a solution, right? You were trying to figure out why it was such a big deal. Right. And PlayStation is such a huge part of the culture over there. Right. And everyone owns a PlayStation and everyone natively knows O is confirmed in Japan. Right. And now they're switching that by default. You know, that's the issue. Whether or not there's a solution for it or how quick it is, you know, that's besides the point. But their default now is opposite of what it has been for the last 20 years. So I totally understand why they're frustrated.
Yeah. It'd be interesting. Definitely wouldn't take me 4 months to figure out on PlayStation.
I promise you it would. It would take a long time. It's like when they change icons on apps on your phone. It takes a while to get used to that new icon.
Yeah, maybe.
Or layout of Android. When Android changes the layout from swipe or from the 3 buttons on the bottom to swipe, that took me a while to get used to.
You know what's funny is I usually count on Japan to see a lot of stuff about the Sony before any Sony console that's ever released before. This would be the first time in my lifetime since they've been making PlayStations where I have got to work with. And I was talking about that with another buddy. Like absolutely nothing.
No.
Like normally you would have some renders or even an actual person gameplay or a showcase. They used to be famous for that. I remember when the first PlayStation released and we were just kind of sitting around.
You do have to remember the first PlayStation released 6 months before North America in Japan, right? They're not doing that. They haven't done that since the PS2, I believe.
But they still had different types of showcases. So even though it didn't release before then, they had a great kind of like expo where you could kind of just watch.
Do that now because of COVID.
Yeah. No, not like a live expo, obviously, but you could still do a virtual expo or something. Like my point was
they've done so many different stupid shit with the fucking PlayStation already for North America. It doesn't matter. You know, I see. I totally get it. I totally get what you're saying. But the world is so much different from when the PS2 came out to now.
Yeah.
Right? It came out 6 months in advance, March to October for the PS2. And I think the PS3 released on the same time. So,
Yeah. Yeah, this is a dead topic, man. We'll see what they do. It was just interesting to see that was happening and people were having that reaction. I hope it's not going to stop anyone from buying it. Moving on to topic 4, this is probably the biggest one of the day for me personally as a fight fan, because according to Israel's coach, which this is always a subjective, just a weird thing to get into, because coaches traditionally, I think, should kind of stay out of the limelight, but they're always going to get interviewed, so they got to answer the question. One of his coaches was asked, what's the next big move for Israel? And this thing's really starting to take off now, that he thinks 205 would be the next step, would make the most sense for Israel to go up, especially for his career. If we're talking about continuing the trajectory of him being a dominant fighter, because after beating Acosta, I think now even I would agree that there's no immediate challenger for the belt. So why not start building on your legacy? So heading up to 205, take a tune-up fight. I don't know if he should jump right into a fight with John Jones. Only a moron would suggest that and think that he actually has a chance. That's a fact. You won't convince me otherwise.
They also wouldn't fight unless it's for the belt, right? So John is going to have to go and beat Jan Blachowicz, right? And
wait,
Izzy is going to have to go ahead.
Let me stop you right there. So no, maybe before traditionally it would have to be for a belt, but we're in the BMF days.
True.
Now it doesn't have to be for a belt. Now it could just be for the fact. And actually, this is better for MMA fans, because there have been plenty of super fights that could have happened when both fighters neither had a belt and they were on their ascent, or one didn't have a belt. But here's the problem, right? I'm just going to be the guy to bring in reality. So Israel Adesanya, I would say, walks around, I'm open to be corrected about this, at 215 max for his body frame, maybe 220 out of camp, if even that. John Jones allegedly walks around at 235, 240, and a lot of that's muscle. Israel Adesanya, most of the guys he's beaten at middleweight, the wrestlers he's beaten have been guys who are a little bit shorter than him and have not been able to take or muscle him the way that a John Jones would. This fight, though it's going to be pitched, you heard it here from me first.
John smokes him.
I'm prepared to waste my $60, but if we're talking about the allure and the what if factor, so I'm kind of mapping out in my head, how could Israel beat him? Staying on the outside isn't going to serve him in this one, right? Staying on the outside and the guy who's longer than you, who's probably not going to engage, someone who's as intelligent as John, that's not going to serve him. So I'm thinking this might be the first time that we see in Israel's UFC career, his MMA career, where he moves in and fights in a different aggression. That's the only way I could see him, like, this fight playing out. And that would be amazing, because when you go back and look at some of Israel's kickboxing matches, even the one he lost in, there was a time where he would march guys down and just basically show off a different skill set of offense. I think it's gonna be amazing, but is it gonna happen? Is it worth happening? It's funny to hear Ariel Helwani campaigning this, because even though I don't like him most of the time, not him personally, I actually enjoy him as a person, I just don't like his bias in the reporting of fights. It's interesting to hear him push this one so much, and the super fan in me wants to believe that this is something that's already in the works, but it can't be. There's no way that John bulked up this much. What do you think?
I've heard Dana talk about it too, but then again, Dana's in the promotion business and not in the fight making business, essentially. Man, here's the issue, right? Izzy's small for 185. He's a smaller guy at 85.
Yeah, his frame is tiny.
There's no way he's going to survive against John. There's no way. I honestly don't think it. Listen, he could have all of the skill in the world, but John's the best at the game,
Intelligently, like, in regards to fight tactics,
absolutely.
I think there's only one other person, I think two other people actually, and that would be Dominic Cruz and Demetrius Johnson. Three of the most intelligent guys when it comes to fighting. But I agree. But this is how they rope you in, though, right? Because there's no way he should be able to beat him.
Sure.
There's no way. I remember when they were promoting the Mayweather versus Canelo fight. They're like, this guy's old. His hands are broken. His ribs are done in for. And I still bought it.
Yeah.
I still bought it, knowing, and then right at that last moment, that sobering moment, I was like, oh wait, this was a huge waste of money. Same thing happened to me with the Conor McGregor versus Mayweather fight. I'm like,
But what if?
Yeah, like this was a huge waste. I'm obviously going to do a live reaction if they do that fight. That will be the first and last time I do anything like that, because genuinely, I just like to sit back, enjoy the fights. I get a little tense during John Jones fights, but that one I'm gonna have to sit. What was that?
A little tense.
I'm gonna have to really call that one. Here's the thing, right? So you're a better person to pose this question to. Do we need this fight? Do we need it? Is the UFC in a place right now where it absolutely needs to put on this fight?
Man, that's a good question. I don't know what the pay-per-view numbers were for Adesanya versus Costa. I haven't even looked at it. Right? That was a huge fight.
That was a huge
for
fight.
Whatever fucking reason. I don't understand it still. But that was a huge fight. I don't know if their numbers were less than 1 million, then yeah, the UFC needs it desperately. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I mean, I could pretty much tell you exactly how the fight's gonna go, probably within a margin of error, because John is gonna be the significantly bigger guy. Israel Adesanya has never fought someone with that kind of fight IQ. I mean, Gastelum maybe, and Gastelum's the only person who's ever given him trouble, right? And Gastelum doesn't even compare to John Jones as far as ability and knowledge and, you know, high level ground game and high level striking. Gastelum doesn't compare, right? Gastelum size him up into 205, and he's a top 10 guy. He's not a top 5, and he's not a contender, right? I don't know. Izzy doesn't. This would be the first finish from John since the Gus 2 fight, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's funny that you already got it set down as a finish. Yeah, and I literally have it
as a finish. I have it as a finish.
I have it as a submission. I have it as a head and arm choke.
Yeah, and potentially very quickly in the first, right? Because John slips one punch, hits a double leg, and Izzy doesn't know what to do after that. You know, and that's the unfortunate thing about Adesanya. He threw up triangles against Gastelum, but it was in the 5th round. They were both fucking on fumes, right? They had no gas tank left, where he's going to be the sloppiest. It's not going to happen in the first round. You know, he would have to go and say, hey, John, we're going to do this, but it's going to be 14 months from now, and then go live with fucking Ben Askren and do wrestling practice every day for the next year.
You mean Damian Maya?
I don't think Jits is the way to do it. I think you have to out wrestle.
It's definitely not. I was just making fun.
I think you have to out or go live with DC, right, and out wrestle him. And even then, I don't think it'll be enough, because DC couldn't out wrestle him.
Yeah, no, I mean,
you know, Corey Anderson might be a good example of decent chain wrestling. Gustafsson might be a great example. He might have to move to Sweden and go train with Jan Blankovic and fucking Gustafsson. That's where he would have to go. That's my choice. Is if he goes up to fucking Sweden and does wrestling practice with Gustafsson every day for the next year.
That's interesting. What is it about Gus's wrestling that you like?
I've heard a lot about his chain wrestling and on how if you're gonna try to get Gus down, you better be thinking 5 steps ahead. And I think John's wrestling is very similar. I think John and Gus are maybe 2 of the best stylistic matchups of all time, because of how clean both strikings are and how good of wrestling both of them have.
Yeah, I think the only problem that Gus ran into with John was, and I'm actually going to go this way with the original fight, right? So I'm in the minority, right? I don't actually believe any of the shit John said. I don't believe that he was underprepared. I don't believe he was on drugs. I think he might have been underprepared, but I believe in Gus's talent. Gus came in there and he brought something to the light heavyweight division that no one had seen before, which was genuine boxing, even though it was amateur level, and foot movement, right? And up until then, John had pretty much been ragdolling people, having his way with them, got into some opposition, and we got to see him go against a skill set that he's never really dealt with before. And at that time in MMA, I can prove it to you without much effort that there wasn't any boxing like that in light heavyweight.
You're 100% right. There's still not much like it.
Yeah, right? People trying to make the comparison, like, well, Shogun's boxing. I'm like, not really boxing. You know, shoot the box, not really, maybe the same word, but not really the same thing. But here's the crazy thing, right? So you're right. You're absolutely correct. Dominic Cruz and Alliance has spoken volumes about Gustafsson and the jumps he made in wrestling. I can't remember the exact quote. Brandon Schaub also said it in regards to Gustafsson. Yeah,
right,
everyone
because Schaub was a wrestler at one point or whatever, and he said that he went and tried to wrestle fucking Gustafsson, and he got smoked.
Yeah, and he's really good. And the really good thing, he's good. Gustafsson's really good if you watch it when he does get taken out. He's really good with the quick one hand post. They do the kickoff. It's almost instant.
And he's the only person to have ever taken down both John Jones and Daniel Cormier.
And he's the only person to have potentially beaten both of them and didn't get the belt.
True. Actually, funny enough, I think the only other person in the UFC at the moment is Stipe who would be able to do that. I think Stipe could get John Jones down, right? Because of how much bigger and how much more powerful I think he would be. Absolutely. And he did take DC down.
I think John's path to victory with Stipe is way narrow, but I pretty much have it mapped out in my head, and I think
he wins that fight now. Unfortunately,
why? Because you see how big he's gotten. I didn't expect him to blow up either. It's actually becoming less exciting. I was just like, oh, we're gonna see a puny John go up to heavyweight and have to use every trick,
everything. But Stipe also doesn't back down the way that most people John fights.
No,
right? That's why DC was so competitive with him.
Yeah, that's why I'll defend your Stipe fanboyism to anyone, because Stipe, I've recognized that Stipe is an amazing fighter with a high IQ, and if you can't see that, then something's. I won't say something. I won't disparage you.
Something's wrong.
Something's. Yeah, like you're not.
I'll protect Steve's thought.
You're not looking at it objectively, but it sounds like we're in agreement about this. But here's the problem, folks. Right? We're still gonna watch it. You know why? Because we're idiots.
No, I watch every card. What do you mean? I watch every fucking card. I watched this card last week. It was a sleeper card, but it was kind of put me to sleep most of the way through it.
Dude, I fell asleep for the first time in years on a card. I woke up and it was the main event. I'm like, oh, that? Santana's like, are you okay? I'm like, oh, did I miss it?
You didn't miss anything. You didn't really miss much.
Hey, wait. I gotta pick your brain a little bit. We gotta go back to the business part. So you don't think the UFC needs to do this?
No, I need to look at Izzy versus Costa pay-per-view numbers before I decide that. I don't know if I could find them.
So here's the next question
was
I gotta ask.
Is it UFC 253?
Yes. Should they not do this to their latest star? So I don't think Izzy's marketability is quite there yet. I see a lot of people.
They did 700,000. They absolutely need to do this fight.
Like they need to do it tomorrow.
Literally.
Do you think they would be sacrificing a potential golden calf on the mountain to make
for him at 85?
There's no one coming up either. It's funny because
it's a very shallow division. In a division that could be the most exciting division in the sport, right? Because they're big enough to where there's a lot of fucking power, and they're small enough to where they could be very technical. And it's not that at the moment. It's also very funny that some of the best fights in that division right now, Leon Edwards, Wonderboy, Leon Edwards is running away from Wonderboy. I don't know if you've seen this or not.
Really?
Leon Edwards because this is the first time Wonderboy has ever called anyone out on Twitter. Said, hey, Leon Edwards, you don't have a fight. I don't have a fight. Let's fight. And Leon Edwards is like, well, I'm ranked this, and I don't think I should fight him. And it's like, dude, no, absolutely. You should fight him. That'd be a great fight.
Hold on for a second. You just confirmed something. So Wonderboy offered to go up and fight at no, Leon Edwards is at freaking welterweight. Never mind. I got the names wrong.
Did I just fuck this all up? I might have.
Yeah, I just realized. I realized because you really just got me gassed for a second. I was like, if Wonderboy literally said he's going up to middleweight, I called it. They're gonna book Israel versus Wonderboy. I actually have Israel smoking him, but I think it's still gonna be a great fight. But it also
up. My bad. I was 70.
No, that's all right. I think Leon Edwards should duck Wonderboy. Because who wants to lose their spot after getting this close? Haven't we all learned something from Tony Ferguson? Can't we all take a page out of that book?
Dana said that that's what he's booking next if Khabib wins, right?
What?
Khabib versus Tony Ferguson?
Oh, I saw some type of headline there.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna
He said he would risk an asteroid hitting the planet to book that fight. And I'm like, motherfucker, you better. You better. There's no one at 85. Let's go back to this. There's absolutely zero people at 85.
Cannonair is I just don't know if they should. Let's call them out. According to Zach, who are the stars in the UFC right now that have the potential of hitting 1 million pay-per-views? Name 3.
Khabib.
Khabib.
That's it. That's it. There is no other star in the UFC that big.
Right, and we have great fighters in this era, right? We
No,
have
the best there has ever been.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The best that there has ever been. And it only goes that way, right? That's an easy thing to say, right? Because from 10 years ago to now, everybody now top 5 would smoke everybody in the UFC then, right?
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, there were some people who are still left over. Glover's left over. John technically probably is left over. Besides that point, right? 15 years ago, let's say. But even past that, in the next 10 years, the people who are champion in 10 years from now would have smoked everybody of this era. And that's just the way it's going to be. The sport's going to evolve and everyone's going to get better, right? Because people are going to be true mixed martial artists coming into it instead of boxing with a little bit of wrestling thrown in, or jits with a little bit of boxing thrown in, right?
Or a wrestler with nothing thrown in.
Right, Ben Askren. Poor bastard.
Poor guy.
He did get called a young superstar by Trump, though.
Did he?
Yeah, because Masvidal went to one of the rallies. Obviously, we saw the pictures of it. Yeah. So we got this guy here. He knocked that young superstar, the guy who's supposed to be the best thing in the UFC. He knocked him out in 5 seconds.
Wait, Masvidal went to a Trump rally?
Yeah, he's a huge Trump fan. He's been touring around the southern states with Trump Jr. in the super necessary bus or whatever. You've not heard about those?
What could that conversation be like?
I don't want to know. Anyway, there is no one else besides Khabib at the moment in the UFC. Man, maybe Adesanya, but obviously this is the biggest fight he's been in. It's 700,000 pay-per-view buys. It was also probably his easiest fight too.
It's interesting thing about Khabib. Oh, and actually, since we're talking about Khabib and you brought Adesanya up at the same point, I'm going to get to something that actually pisses me off a little bit. But interesting thing about Khabib, I believe the star power is there for him. He's definitely
huge, dude. He's huge. You and Cash have both said that you disagree on how big Khabib actually is. Khabib is one of the most talked about sports athletes in the world. You know, him and Conor are on the same level of fame. They really are. Conor's more flaunty and in your face, and you might not notice how big Khabib is. Khabib is fucking enormous, dude.
No. I never take for granted how big Khabib is in Eastern Europe. I think the difference between, I can't really speak for Cash, but the difference between my opinion on that subject is I've watched Khabib come into the UFC, right? So I've watched his career develop. I've seen his, I know how huge he is, like in Sambo sports acts. I'm talking about, I went into a Sambo gym. Let's not really call it that though. But I went into a gym where there were some Sambo practitioners, and they were talking about him when he fought Abel Trujillo. Like, he's been a star before he came here.
Yeah.
I think Conor McGregor's star shines a little bit higher because he was considered like a breakout crossover star, more familiar to the general fans, like the non-initiated and stuff like that. The interesting thing about Khabib's star power though is I think it has what it takes to sustain a loss. It depends on who the loss is to. If he loses to Justin Gaethje, they're going to almost immediately have to run that fight back because no one expects him to lose to Justin Gaethje. But if he loses to a Tony Ferguson, for instance, then that's a trilogy type of fight there, right? Right? You see what I'm saying here? Like, Mike Tyson loses to Buster Douglas. It takes something off the shine, right? Because it's like, how did you lose to this guy? This wasn't a part of the narrative. Yeah. But Mike Tyson loses to Evander Holyfield, then it's like, hey, we got something here. Right, we can run this back a couple of times.
Sure.
I think that the only thing about Khabib though.
So let me give this example. Right, I'm looking at this website about the most talked about athletes in the world. There are 3 athletes, and I'm assuming higher is better here. With a search score of 100, which Google, right? They take that go to Google Analytics and look at that. There are 3 athletes in the world with a search score of 100. Those are Conor McGregor, Khabib Nurmagomedov, and Cristiano Ronaldo, right? To be in the same category as both Conor and Cristiano Ronaldo as the most searched athletes in the world, that is incredible, right? Steve lost audio. He's trying to figure out as to why this is a terrible idea to buy wireless headsets and not charge them prior to this. I'm not sure, but we'll give them the benefit of the doubt on that. It's actually absurd of how big Conor and Khabib are. And that's why that fight was so big. But I don't think that a fight ever happens again, unfortunately. Fortunately, actually, I think it never happens again. So we're at a little bit of a lull here now that Steve is gone. Well, he's there. He's there in spirit. He just can't hear us. His headset's clearly not on. His mic is muted too. So I have no idea. I have no idea what's going on here. Yeah, I guess we're going to take a quick pause and try to figure this out. And we're back from a small technical difficulty there of... this has been days since we spoke last. I have no idea what happened since.
I've literally been in the abyss running around the wood. I didn't have this beard beforehand.
I mean, to end the point, right, there is no huge seller in the UFC at the moment. There is no superstar, and I actually think that's partially because the UFC is terrible at marketing their fighters generally. The people who have been huge notoriously within the UFC have been marketed themselves. Conor is the great example there. Conor did all of his own marketing before, the UFC did anything for him, and they probably still haven't. So, that's my point. I've made that point before.
Yeah, the interesting thing about that is, if you go back to the dark days, and this is not really the dark days. Dark days would be considered the inception of the UFC. But if you go back to the Chuck Liddell days, Chuck Liddell he's infamously known for not being what you call a self-promoter. He was promoted, and I think that's the last time I've actually seen him be able to do that. Ronda, on the other hand, you can make an argument for her as well, but there was a lot to work with there, right?
It's huge. First female superstar, right?
Yeah.
And that's all that you need to sell. That's it. Yeah. That was all that they need. That was handed to them on a silver platter. How much could they have done with Jon Jones? How big could Jon Jones be?
I knew you were going to say that. And it's funny because no one else is responsible for Jon's problems as marketability than Jon. So there's a whole story about that, because Jon could have literally been the first crossover, no disrespect to Rashad Evans, first crossover African-American UFC superstar. And he still is. But I'm talking about on a basketball player level. Like, people were drawn to Jon when he became the champion. Man. I was there. And you know what screwed in?
Man, but basketball players are huge, dude. Huge.
No, they're extremely huge. Let me paint you a picture, right? People show up for fighter expos. They do this, right? God rest his soul. My buddy Alex Santana, if he was here, he would tell you right now, like, people show up and they get a good fan base. When Jon, Ronda, and I forgot who the third person was, they went to go do an interview at 42nd Street. People showed up for Jon. Now, why is that weird? People actually showed up for a light heavyweight champion. Why is that weird? No one has done that since Chuck Liddell. People liked Lyoto Machida, but no one was coming out throwing their panties at him. Like, Chuck Liddell, for all intents and purposes, a man who shouldn't have been a champion, was a superstar. And people showed out for Jon. I think Jon, if you ever go back to business school, if you ever go to business school, you could literally do a case study on how not to run your personal brand, according to Jon Jones. Because he was
step number one. Yeah. Don't hit pregnant women. Step number two.
Cocaine.
Do less coke. Step number 3. Threaten to smack DC's wife's ass.
You know what's crazy about Luke Rockhold? Another guy screwed it all up, man. Huge marketability.
Yeah, he tried to be the heel, though. He tried to be the heel, and it wasn't very good at it.
Yeah. Oh, well, there's got to be some wit there, right?
Right. The only person who's ever been good at being a heel in the UFC is Chael. Truly is Chael. Conor's not a heel. He's too lovable. Yeah. Chael was legitimately the only heel that I could recall that was a legitimate heel, like in WWE style heel.
Yeah, but also, and Chael's so intelligent, he can just literally flip it on you, because he goes on the Ultimate Fighter, and it's like, hold on for a second, this guy's extremely intelligent. Yeah, and I'm not just talking about fight IQ intelligent. No, he's
very smart,
very intelligent dude. His book is pretty amazing too. But at any rate, F Jon Jones, F Israel Adesanya. If this fight happens, they're going to get my $60. Now, I'm sorry, $69. Well, I keep saying 60 like it's 10 years ago. It's $69 for. Yeah, it's $69 for a pay-per-view. Wait, how don't you know that? Didn't you buy the last pay-per-view?
Yeah, I don't pay attention to things that I'm going to buy regardless.
Oh, okay, there you go. I thought maybe
it's like gas. I don't know how much I put in gas in my car because I'm going to buy the gas anyway. It doesn't matter.
They would love to have you live in California state. That you are the type of guy that Governor Newsom is looking for. It's like, don't worry about how much it costs.
No, it's dumb expensive there. I know that for a fact, but it's things that I'm going to have to buy anyway, right? I generally don't pay attention to.
Even turkey?
I don't eat turkey.
Like, you don't eat turkey?
No. I actually don't. I don't like birds very much. I don't like chicken very much. I don't like turkey really at all.
You like chicken parm?
Right, because it's smothered in sauce and cheese.
You like buffalo chicken?
Because it's smothered in buffalo sauce.
You like General Tso chicken?
Because it's smothered in sugar.
And quite possibly might not be chicken.
That's a good point. It could be fucking something other than that.
Speaking of things that are smothered in stuff, right? This is gonna be uber quick, man. I just think it's interesting that Trump's press secretary has tested positive for COVID. So right now we're sitting at about 4 or 5 people in his cabinet.
23 people of the White House coming out of the White House have been diagnosed with COVID.
Are you serious?
Yes.
How many of those people are in his inner circle?
Most. The issue is that the only reason I even know this number or even the idea of this number was because of the fact that there were 13 cases in Washington D.C. or 19, and now the Trump administration was responsible for another 23.
Yeah, we're creeping
and
up here.
growing. By the way, our county is okay. We have a small subset of the county that is very bad, actually the worst in the state.
Yes.
So that's the only reason. But anyone outside of that, we're pretty good.
Yeah. So what are you talking about? Keeping that small subset county isolated? Is that what you're suggesting? Or
well, they are isolated already, and not as to their dismay. They want to be.
Oh, but are you suggesting a more forcible isolation? Were you suggesting some type of barriers or something like that?
No, maybe just armed guards on the outside.
Yes, and that's the way I like it. But so here's the funny thing about this, right? The spin is in amazing. I've always applauded these people. By these people, I mean Trump and his cabinet on how well they do at playing to their base and the spin, because he gets released from the hospital today, heads back to the White House, continues the narrative that you should not worry about COVID, actually tweets that out, gets back to the White House, takes his mask off immediately, and just starts parading in front of the camera. She actually tweeted out as well that she's doing fine. It's not to the effect of it's not that big of a deal. And it plays perfectly, man. On the political stage, this plays perfectly into their hands, where people who wanted a reason not to believe that this was a serious issue will continue to get to believe that. And it's like, at some points, you weren't alive for this, and I barely was, man. It reminds me of the Gotti situation. It reminds me of that situation where it's like, this dude is a murderer. You absolutely know he's a murderer. But people would parade Gotti around as if he was a saint. You would have thought Giuliani was the bad guy in that scenario, which is ironic. And John Gotti was the good guy. Well, yeah. Well,
right.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just crazy. I just had to throw that one in the topics list because maybe we'll see the entire White House just get infected, but it's not going to change anything. Moving right along to something that really makes me happy. Huntsman Profitable. Nearly profitable after 1 year. What does that even mean?
I don't know, Steve. What does it mean? Lay it out. You started the topic.
No, what does it mean to be nearly profitable after 1 year? What does it mean?
So if you're breaking even, right? Essentially is nearly profitable as breaking even. It's incredible, and I love that you spun this topic for me to talk about when you had brought it up. It's impossible. Most companies are not profitable within 1 year, right? That's just fact, right? Restaurants even less so. Apparel brands, none of them are profitable for many, many years down the road. Now, they also don't have someone running the company that built the industry that they're in, right? Because Hex essentially built the Call of Duty esports industry along with Hastro and maybe Sundance. I guess you can give him some credit for starting MLG along with Adam Apicella, but realistically, Hex is the Codfather, as a lot of people like to call him.
Great name.
And now after 1 year, a esports brand, or not even an esports brand, a esports team, right? Because Huntsman are technically under NRG Esports. They're not the esports brand. They're the team, right? Along with I don't know whatever else they have, but
Mhm.
they're there because of Hex, and it's incredible after 1 year to be profitable, especially when you start millions of dollars down, having to pay your players tremendous amounts of money right off the start to be on your roster. So yeah, it's incredible. It's very very cool to see. It's incredible business.
Yeah, I was watching that video that I sent you, man, and just kind of doing some research on it myself. I mean, obviously, it is incredible, especially for an esports league, but for a COD team. But here's something that's really interesting to me. It means that the investors have to be extremely happy at this point, right? To actually think that, hey, we were in this thing, we invested wisely, we'll possibly get to see a return on our investment. And it's got to make Hex feel good because he's actually doing it the right way. I don't have much else to equate this to other than my previous field, man, but I've seen people start crisis intervention companies from nothing, right? Maybe 2 or 3 guys working in their agency,
Mm-hmm.
build up the brand. They're not making any real money off of it because even if you're splitting a $1,000 a day take home, 500 goes to the company. The company's got to pay for liability insurance.
And
They've
probably
also got to
more
pay
than
for
that, essentially,
yeah,
right? And most
yeah,
of that, most of the money that you make as a company in your first 5 years, all
goes
of it
back.
essentially it goes right back into the company.
Yeah,
And there is no way about it. And most of the time, if you're running the company, Damon John is Damon John is very famous for saying that the first 9 years of his company that sells billions of dollars of clothing a year now, he didn't make any money from.
yeah.
Right.
Same thing with restaurants. There are some of the greatest restaurants that have ever existed in
Never
Manhattan.
make money. Never
Yeah.
make money.
Well,
And
this,
especially in a market like Manhattan, is that the rent
yeah,
is so expensive on top of all the other food costs and
yeah.
employee costs that it's impossible to make money on these things, right?
And so for a restaurant, it's the 7-year corner. And like once if you make it
Yeah.
past 7 years, then you get into that profit. But
But
it's cool to see this, right? And it's actually encouraging for like, and this is not even close in the same realm to see someone like Hex. Because when you talk about self-made people, this is literally what the term is suggesting, right? To have a vision, a goal, and to
Mhm.
actually be able to see that all the way through and get to this place where most people scoffed at stuff like this. I remember someone did a report, I believe it was in like the New York Times or something like that, when they first started paying people to game or the
It was
concept of
on
people game.
Halo.
Yeah, yeah,
The exact article was on Walshy. I'm
yeah.
positive
And
because it was at the time where Walshy had just bought his house
yeah,
in PA somewhere or in Ohio, whatever it was, because he had made enough money from prize winnings. Yeah,
yeah.
that's exactly the story.
So, and here's the crazy thing when you push back against a narrative, and it's hard to change a narrative. They exist for reasons, right? They're supposed to exist to kind of keep kind of keep a glass ceiling above your head. But to see someone break through it, and then for it to continue to happen, and to see people continually be able to make a living for themselves is absolutely amazing, man. It's encouraging to me. And I was actually, the reason I put this, that I sent you that video because I just thought this wasn't even a topic I wanted to cover. I was just like, man, this is amazing, dude. And
Yeah,
I feel really happy for him to get ownership of Optic, to have this happen. And because you hear so much about Nate Shot and 100 Thieves and how well they're doing, and
sure.
then to see how well Hex is doing with his podcast, his multiple different podcasts, it's absolutely amazing, man. It's encouraging for me. I love it. Like,
Yeah,
I got
no,
a good
it's really good, and even from a business standpoint, the guy is the CEO, was the
yeah.
CEO of the most successful Call of Duty brand, and potentially one of the most talked about esports brands ever in Optic. To go to NRG and start the Huntsman, and within a year to be, if not profitable, but breaking even, is an incredible feat, regardless of who is doing it.
Yeah, I always make this comparison, man, but it just really does remind me of like early skate companies. Like it really does remind me
Sure.
of that. Like when people were just scrounging money together to get their skate tapes edited on VHSs and to get
Hmm.
them into actual skate shops, and how that turned into
And
marketing and
everyone
how
is breaking off, making their own companies, and
yep, yep.
every this person had that company and that person. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Same thing with the hip hop boom, underground hip. It's amazing, and it's just always something I like to track and watch. I really do hope that they turn a profit, man, and I hope that they continue to grow as a brand. And then I hope that one day that they'll watch this show, possibly loan me about $20 or so I can get a lunch at work. And that's all I really need. I don't even want an endorsement. If I could just borrow some money to get some lunch, like a really good lunch, I'd be really happy about that. Also, I'd like to get you signed to a team, man. I just want to see how you stack up. I think you're better than you say you are, and I would like to see how you stack up with enough time to just practice and focus on it.
For what, Call of Duty to play like professionally?
Yeah.
No, I don't stack up against these guys. These guys are too good on controller.
What about when they move the PC? Oh, they still won't let you use a keyboard and mouse.
Right,
Man.
I can't use a keyboard and mouse. If I can use a keyboard and mouse, I might have some hope. But even then, these guys are so good. You know, these guys are professionals. They're the top 1% of the 1% of the 1%. You know, these people aren't the average player. I might be above average or slightly above average, whatever. But you know, I'm nowhere near the pro level.
It's the small victories you got to take away from when I jumped into that lobby in Street Fighter and played that pro. I was like, if I can get this guy not to beat me 4 rounds with straight perfects, that's a win for me. And I got him down to half of his energy, and then he smoked me for the rest. Like, I couldn't even touch him. Like, it was to the point where I was like, he's got to be cheating. Like, no one like doesn't get hit that many times. But yeah, I suck, and he was that good at it. So I get what you're saying, Zach. You want to tell the people what we got going on Fridays now? Or we got a new thing. We got a new special thing. We did
so
it
Wednesday. First of all, don't shortchange what we do the rest of the week, because I put a lot of time into it. Wednesday we have the final of the interview episodes coming out. The King Cash interview was a very good episode. Will be in your Spotify whatever starting Wednesday. Fridays now we're doing live streams of the show. We do a slight post or pre-show. Steve dipped on me before I could do the post-show last time, which we'll have to work out off air. And yeah, we're doing live streams. So come join the live stream on the YouTube channel. It's a lot of fun.
We could definitely work it out off air. We can meet up somewhere and work it out in person.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm bringing a fucking bat.
That's not going to be enough.
You would think. You would think. You can find us everywhere, Talking with a Dad, website, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and all of your favorite podcasting apps. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to Talking with a Dad, episode 63.